Madam Secretary, we are ready to begin.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. This is the time and place that has been noticed for the open meeting of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to consider the matters that have been duly posted by the Commission. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioners, since the April open meeting, the Commission has issued 50 notational orders. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, and good morning, everybody. Earlier this month, me and my colleagues participated in our Senate oversight hearing at the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. I was excited to share our priorities and the progress that we've made over the past few months, and I look forward to continuing to work. We're back on the record. I was just saying, I look forward to working with my colleagues going forward to continue the progress that we've had. The month of May, is both Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month, a time to reflect upon and celebrate the remarkable role of the Asian Pacific community in our nation's history. I want to thank our employee resource group, Asian Pacific Americans at FERC, for coordinating cultural events and continuing to bring awareness to the issues unique to their community. Before we go to the discussion items today, I wanted to highlight that we have two upcoming forums next month. We have a PJM Capacity Market Forum on June 15th, immediately following our open meeting here at the headquarters. We're also having a forum on New England's resource adequacy issues. It will be in Portland, Maine, on June 20th. I look forward to the discussions there. Today, we are also approving NARUC's nomination of two new members of the Joint Federal-State Task Force on Transmission. I welcome President Fiordaliso and Commissioner Howard, and I thank Chairman Jason Stanek and Chair Brown Dutrell for their service on the task force. The next meeting will take place on Sunday, July 16th, at the NARUC Annual Conference in Austin, Texas. Moving on to our discussion item agendas. You will hear me say, you've heard me say often, that reliability is job number one. And that is our focus of many of the orders that we have today. Cybersecurity, physical security, extreme weather, and the rapidly changing resource mix. Today, I want to highlight several of the orders that underscore these priorities. First, item A3 focuses on the 2023 Summer Energy Market and Reliability Assessment. I will hold my comments and questions until after the team presents that report. Second, item E1 focuses on the rapidly changing resource mix, including projected addition of over the next decade of an unprecedented proportion of non-synchronous resources, i.e. inverter-based resources. The order approves NERC's work plan, which describes how it will identify and register owners and operators of IBRs that are connected to the bulk power system. Also want to highlight items E3 through E11, which are the second batch of orders on compliance with order number 881. Thank you to the staff for preparing these 9 orders. These orders will help improve the efficiency and reliableness of our nation's grid by increasing the accuracy and transparency of transmission line ratings. And with that, I will turn to my colleagues for the opening remarks. Commissioner Daly.
Nothing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Clements.
Good. More time for me. Thank you. Good morning. I would also want to acknowledge our employee research group. Getting started, huh? I want to acknowledge our Asian Pacific Americans of FERC employee resource group. My own advisor, Mary Yang, is on the board of that group and does a lot of work with them. It was fun to see them all last week, along with all the other ERGs, at our celebration of Public Service Recognition Week, which was great to be back in person for my first time since starting at the Commission. I also want to touch on the 2 upcoming forums, the one on New England winter energy adequacy and on PJM's capacity market. My hope is that we use these gatherings to push beyond generic concerns about the pace of change on the electric system, and instead examine, define, and quantify the specific challenges that each region faces and solutions that are tailored to those challenges. In the New England context, I, along with lots of others, have been outspoken about the need to better quantify the scope of the region's winter reliability risk. To its credit, ISO New England heard these requests, and the preliminary results of its recent analysis are encouraging. The new analysis shows that in the event the Everett LNG facility retires, the winter risk is more limited than originally supposed, largely due to greater than expected deployment of energy efficiency and new behind-the-meter solar generation. In PJM, the RTO issued a white paper addressing resource retirement risk. This paper has done a good thing in focusing stakeholders on assessing whether and how market rules may need to evolve. I think it is important that we avoid jumping to conclusions, though, before we collectively kick the tires on the assumptions in this report. As I read it, I have several questions that I hope we'll explore at the forum. Does the report assume that every unit facing compliance costs from EPA rules will retire? And if so, why? How will retirements affect PJM's market dynamics? Will price signals sent by tightening margins help retain needed capacity? And if not, why not? And given resource performance issues seen during recent storms, what can the Commission do to better ensure that the capacity customers pay for will actually perform as expected? My point here isn't to suggest that we should stop worrying about winters in New England or retirements in PJM. It is a reminder that reliability discussions will lead to more cost-effective solutions if they start with the data-driven, analytical work required to understand and quantify the problem we are aiming to solve. One thing that I hope we can avoid in the context of both forums is assuming that all else on the grid remains static outside of the retiring units. First and foremost, new resources interconnecting to the system can bolster reliability. And as PJM identifies, the faster they are connected, the more reliable the system will be. While new solar and wind are not one-for-one replacements of retiring fossil plants, they are not intended to create a reliable grid in isolation. Properly accrediting the ability of all resource types to provide energy during shortages is critical to reliability. We can do more now by unlocking barriers to more dynamic demand-side resources, which have proven critical in recent extreme weather events and which offer flexibility outside of them. We can also move forward on rules that require the use of grid-enhancing technologies. Finally, we must keep our eyes on the prize of scenario-based, long-term, regional and interregional transmission system planning, which will, together with interconnection forum, be leading players in the reliability solutions portfolio going forward. In short, retirements are one important piece of a larger reliability puzzle, and solving that puzzle starts with analysis of all the pieces. I'll speak just quickly to one agenda item, E1. We are approving, as the chairman noted, NERC's work plan on integrating, or registering, inverter-based resources. I hope that NERC's substantive filing on its registration approach, which is still to come, ensures an effective registration framework, but does not compromise the IBR's ability to provide reliability services they are capable of providing, including at least reactive power, black start, and fast frequency response. And so I look forward to engaging on that docket as well. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Christie.
No opening statement. Thank you.
All right. Madam Secretary, I believe we are ready to go to the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since the issuance of the Sunshine Act notice on May 11, 2023, items G1, C4, and C5 have been stricken from this morning's agenda. Your consent agenda is as follows. Electric items. E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, E7, E8, E9, E10, E11, E12, E14, E15, E16, E17, E18, E19, and E20. Hydro items, H1 and H3. Certificate items, C1, C2, and C3. As to E18, Commissioner Christie is concurring with a separate statement. As to E19, Commissioner Danley is dissenting with a separate statement. As to C1, Commissioner Danley is concurring with a separate statement. We are now ready to take the vote on this morning's consent agenda. The vote begins with Commissioner Christie.
Noting my one concurrence in E18, Echo 18, I vote aye on everything.
Commissioner Clements.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Danley.
Noting my dissent in E19 and my concurrence in C1, I vote aye.
And Chairman Phillips.
I vote aye.
We will now move on to the discussion and presentation portion of this meeting. The first item for discussion and presentation is item A3, concerning the Summer Energy Market and Electric Reliability Assessment. There will be a PowerPoint presentation on this item this morning. The presenters for this morning are James Birchill from the Office of Energy Policy and Innovation, Micah Gowan from the Office of Energy Policy and Innovation, Anapodia Egbadia from the Office of Electric Reliability, and Mark Olson from North American Reliability Corporation. They're accompanied by Clarence Bell from the Office of Energy Policy and Innovation, and Maria Hanley from the Office of Electric Reliability. You may begin your presentation.
The Office of Electric Reliability and the Office of Energy Policy and Innovation are pleased to present a summary of the 2023 Summer Energy Market and Electric Reliability Assessment. This report reflects staff's analyses and forecasts about the energy markets and electric reliability for the upcoming summer. This presentation discusses select key findings from the report. The complete report will be posted on the Commission website at www.ferc.gov. Higher than normal temperatures are expected to increase electricity demand for this coming summer. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, forecasts a 50 to 70% likelihood of higher than normal temperatures for June through September 2023 in most parts of the country. The North American Reliability Corporation, NERC, forecasts that all regions will have sufficient generating resources to meet expected summer demand, and some regions may require operating mitigations under challenging summer conditions. Aggregate net summer electric generating capacity is expected to increase to 1,167 gigawatts, up from 1,138 gigawatts in summer 2022. primarily from solar and wind generation that has been added or will begin service. The addition of over 4 gigawatts of battery storage capacity nationwide for the second year in a row could make battery storage the fourth largest type of capacity addition by the end of summer 2023. The natural gas market is expected to be well supplied, indicating that natural gas prices should be lower than last summer. Record high natural gas production levels, along with above average natural gas storage inventories, are anticipated to offset natural gas demand that will also be at record levels. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, supply chain and economic challenges for additions of new and replacement equipment are likely to persist in 2023. Utility reports to the U.S. Department of Energy indicate that security incidents, including vandalism, suspicious activity, and cyber events on the bulk power system are on the rise, and 2022 saw the highest number of incidents since reporting began in 2011. These challenges, if they persist, may impact energy markets and electric reliability for the upcoming summer. Similar to the past 2 summers, NOAA forecasts that temperatures this summer for the most of the United States will be above NOAA's 1991 to 2020 U.S. climate normals. Above normal temperatures are more than 50% likely to occur throughout most of the continental United States, the East Coast, and the southern United States. As of April 13th, NOAA forecasts a 62% chance of El Nino developing between May and July 2023. Specifically, El Nino conditions for the summer can result in drier conditions in the east and increased precipitation in the west. El Nino events generally suppress Atlantic hurricane activity. Hurricane weather threatens oil and natural gas production, oil and natural gas pipeline transmission systems, and electric transmission networks along the Gulf and Atlantic coasts. The 2022 hurricane season produced 14 named storms, of which 8 became hurricanes and 2 intensified to major hurricanes, including the Category 5 Hurricane Ian in September. Ian made landfall twice as a Category 4 in Florida and a Category 1 in Carolinas. More than 4.4 million electric customers lost power over several days as a result of Hurricane Ian. Tracking recent trends, much of the net capacity added nationwide this summer will likely come from wind, solar, and natural gas-fired and battery storage projects, while retirements will come primarily from coal resources. The total net summer capacity is estimated to grow across the United States. Aggregate net summer capacity is expected to increase from 1,138 gigawatts last summer to 1,167 gigawatts this summer. However, generating capacity additions scheduled to come online for the summer could change. This chart shows the projected share of net summer capacity for electricity, including newly installed capacity by resource type across both RTO ISOs and other regions in the United States by September 2023. Natural gas represents 43% of the capacity mix across the United States, followed by coal at 16%, wind at 12%, and hydro at 8%. Among the RTO ISOs, Electric Reliability Council of Texas expects to add the most generating capacity with 10.2 gigawatts of anticipated new capacity through summer 2023, with solar resources comprising 4.6 gigawatts of this addition. With the potential addition of battery storage capacity nationwide noted above, battery storage additions could cumulatively total 15 gigawatts of installed capacity, nearly equaling natural gas capacity additions. The largest share of capacity retirements is expected from coal plants, with anticipated retirement of 9.7 gigawatts of coal-fired capacity through summer 2023, which is 10% lower than the retirements last summer. Through 2023, MISO is expected to retire the most at 4.1 gigawatts. I will now turn it over to my colleague, Micah Gallen.
Thank you, James. Natural gas prices for this summer are expected to be lower at every major trading hub across the United States compared to the final settled futures prices of September 2022. As of May 8, 2023, the Henry Hub futures contract price averaged $2.41 per MMBTU for June 2023 through September 2023, down 71.3% from last summer's settled price average of $8.37 per MMBTU. As shown in the slide, the highest natural gas prices this summer are anticipated at 2 California hubs, $6.13 at SoCalGas Citygate outside Los Angeles, and $5.15 at PG&E Citygate near the Bay Area. The higher prices in California in part reflect local natural gas storage inventories that are lower than the storage levels seen at this time last year. Many factors affect traded natural gas prices, but lower futures prices at the Henry Hub for this summer appear largely driven by forecasts of greater availability of supply than last summer, with a reduced need to inject natural gas into storage given above average storage inventories. This summer, total dry natural gas production is forecast to average 100.1 BCFD, an increase of 0.9% from last summer, while total natural gas demand is forecast to average 94.1 BCFD, an increase of 4.4% from last summer. Natural gas net exports are expected to average 13.9 BCFD in summer 2023, which is a modest portion of overall demand, but an increase of 36.9% from summer 2022 net export levels. I will now turn the presentation over to my colleague, Enekbodi Egbedia, who will discuss electric reliability trends.
Thank you, Micah. This slide illustrates electricity demand growth compared to the previous summer. Further, it shows all regions anticipate their available resources and net transfers will exceed their net demand. NERC forecasts net demand for electricity to increase by approximately 1.4% or 10.6 gigawatt for summer 2023 compared to summer 2022 levels. The growth in net demand is concentrated in CERC East, CERC Central, CERC Florida, WERC Northwest subregions, as well as SPP and the ERCOT regions. However, NERC forecasts net demand reductions for MISO and CERC Southeast, along with WERC California, Mexico, and WERC Southwest subregions. NERC forecasts that net demand in ISO New England, New York ISO, and PJM will remain similar to summer 2022 levels. To serve demand, NERC forecasts a national increase of 2.4% or almost 23 gigawatts in total system resources and net firm transfers, meaning firm imports minus firm exports, which will increase system resources from 938 gigawatts in summer 2022 to 961 gigawatts in summer 2023. NERC will highlight some additional details on several regions in a few moments. In the West, parts of California, the desert Southwest, the mountain Southwest received significant precipitation during winter 2022-2023, alleviating some of the drought conditions in California and other areas in the western United States. However, some areas continue to experience drought conditions. Unlike California, the mountain Southwest, parts of Texas, the mid-continent, and areas of the Pacific Northwest, especially Oregon, were expected to remain in drought from April through July of 2023. Release restrictions and continued low reservoir levels continue to affect hydropower operations at Glen Canyon, Hoover Dam in the Colorado River Basin. In the Pacific Northwest, which provides most of the West hydropower, drought conditions vary. While winter storms have brought snowpack levels in parts of the region to above normal, serious drought concerns remain in parts of the Pacific Northwest due to lack of snow. In California, snowpack levels were 172% of the median as of April 2023. This is a major increase from last year when snowpack levels were 22% of the median. The Great Basin, which stretches from Sierra Nevada to the Wasatch Mountains in Utah, has also recorded more snow in this past winter than the two previous winters combined. Snowfall levels were lower in other areas such as the Pacific Northwest, South Central United States, and parts of the Northeast. Increased hydropower in California could reduce natural gas demand for power burn, but may be offset by hydropower constraints in other states. Some reliability trends of recent years may pose a reliability risk this summer if they persist. Supply chain issues could limit availability of new and replacement equipment and could affect grid reliability and security. Recent policy and regulatory activities may influence generator availability and costs as early as this summer. For instance, policies restricting solar imports, financing concerns for renewable projects, and several proposed and final Environmental Protection Agency regulations affecting primarily fossil fuel generation. During summer, when regions are operating at peak load, human-related grid disturbances could adversely impact grid reliability and subsequently businesses and people. Electric disturbance reports provided by utilities to the Department of Energy indicate that human-related incidents, including vandalism, suspicious activities and cyber events are on the rise and were the highest in 2022 since the report started capturing the activities in 2011. 172 human-related incidents on the grid were reported in 2022 compared to 99 in 2021. Some utilities have taken steps to mitigate the possibility of human-related incidents, and utilities continue to coordinate with local, state, and federal law enforcement to protect critical facilities. On the other hand, another notable change since last summer is likely to boost reliability in California going forward. The Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant received an extension from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to continue operating following a recommendation from California's Energy Commission staff that the plant be kept in operation for reliability past the previously planned shutdown date of 2025. I will now turn the presentation over to my colleague Mark Olson from NERC for additional analysis.
Thank you. Thank you. Yesterday, NERC published its 2023 Summer Reliability Assessment, and in that report found that new resource additions will help meet summer demand, but the loss of capacity from generator retirements is increasing risks of electricity shortages during wide area heat waves and other extreme weather conditions for the upcoming summer. A notable conclusion of the 2023 assessment is all areas meet reliability criteria and have adequate resources for normal demand. However, we also found more areas are likely to have resource and energy risks during the more extreme scenarios that we assess. This map shows the areas that we found to have elevated risk, which means the areas meet resource adequacy criteria, but are likely to experience a resource shortfall under more extreme conditions. Recent events during both summer and winter seasons have reinforced the importance of including realistic but extreme scenarios such as these in operational planning and peak season preparedness. I'll briefly discuss some factors contributing to elevated risk in these areas from the SRA report. In the U.S. West, wide area heat events can cause simultaneously high demand levels across the region and strain resources and the transmission network. Despite winter and spring participation, as was mentioned, the regional hydro outlook may continue to restrict hydro production that supplies region-wide load. In SPP and MISO, wind energy is the key to meeting summer peak demand. When low wind conditions are factored into several risk scenarios, resources are not sufficient to maintain required reserves, and additional non-firm supplies or demand response would be needed. Planned nuclear outages in the province of Ontario have reduced capacity, leaving operators with little remaining capacity for unplanned generator outages and above normal demand. In the Cirque Central area, we will be tighter this summer as a result of higher forecasted demand. For extreme demand, we assess that Cirque Central would likely need to rely on operating mitigations or external assistance, which may not be available in a wide area heat event. In New England, there is also less capacity this summer as some generators have retired, making it more likely that ISO would require more use of their operating mitigations for capacity deficiencies at times. Finally, ERCOT has seen a sizable increase in both demand and resources, mainly resources in the form of solar PV. Dispatchable generation can be insufficient for high demand levels when wind or solar output is unusually low. We've identified several recommendations for the industry and partners to take to support reliability for the upcoming summer. These are designed to promote preparedness in risk areas and improve performance of our growing inverter-based resources. We look forward to sharing these in our summer outreach campaign with the industry and stakeholders. The full summer reliability assessment and a short video of highlights presentation are on NERC's website. And thank you. I'll turn the presentation back to my FERC colleagues.
The full report will be posted on the Commission website, covers the topics discussed in this presentation in greater detail. This concludes staff's prepared comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We're happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, James, and thank you, Mark, and thank you to the team for your work on this report. I know it is a huge effort. I just have a couple questions for you. You mentioned in the report that U.S. LNG exports are forecast to increase over last summer. What do you think is driving this change?
There are several overlapping factors that are likely to drive LNG exports higher this summer than last. First and foremost is there's more liquefaction capacity available than last summer if all operational facilities utilize their fully available capacity. That was what happened last summer. They all utilized the full capacity, and we expect that will happen again this summer because international demand remains high, especially in Europe. And export prices are likely to remain higher than Gulf Coast U.S. prices, which would incentivize continued high utilization of those facilities. Specifically, liquefaction capacity is likely to be 13.5 BCFD this summer. It's about 2.5 BCFD higher than it was in summer 22, with about 0.4 BCFD in new capacity being added, as well as the expected return of about 2.1 BCFD from the Freeport LNG facility. There are some factors that could reduce that export level. This could be storms in the Gulf of Mexico, particularly hurricanes. Scheduled maintenance at some facilities could also reduce utilization. Unscheduled outages of any kind, of course, as well as any significant change in the price difference between U.S. and European prices.
Thank you for that response. I want to turn to transmission now. We know that transmission can be very important to our grid and reliability of our grid, especially when there's very high demand. I want to drill down a little bit, though, and talk about interregional flows. Can you tell me how can interregional flows support the grid when there's high demand this summer?
Thank you, Chairman. So, transmission supports reliable operations of the grid during tight summer conditions and can provide significant economic value by allowing electricity to be transferred from regions with excess capacity to regions where they're experiencing short supply. Nationally, there's about 499 line miles of transmission under construction. And transmission can also provide emergency assistance as was seen in California in September 2022. And this allows, neighboring regions to support areas that are short in supply. Now, interregional transfers can be economic, as we saw last summer. The California Western Energy Imbalance Market realized about $500 million in benefits. Right now, regions are starting to look at identifying potential new interregional facilities, but there is no projects scheduled for coming online this summer. Thanks.
I thank you again. I think that there's some good news here. I think we're seeing things trending in the right direction over last year. And again, I thank you all so much for your hard work. I turn to my colleagues. Commissioner Danley.
Nothing, thank you.
Comments?
Thank you. Thanks for the good work on this report. Really informative and helpful. People should read it. I do think it's trending in the right direction, and it is good news. One bright spot that came out concurrently with these reports this week is CAISO released its summer outlook on Tuesday, and it showed considerable improvement in resource availability for the coming summer, driven in part by the better hydro conditions that you described, and also by the push for resource development that is resulting in the addition of over 4,000 megawatts of new storage in 1 year. Appreciating supply chain constraints, that's a pretty impressive amount, as well as interconnection queue. Of course, California's not in the clear. No state in the West is, and the extreme, west-wide heat, as you described, will continue to face them. We have the tools in the toolbox to get at these problems. We have proposals out on transmission planning, a proposal out on the interconnection queue. We have a proposal, or NERC's considering extreme weather transmission planning standards. And in the meantime, there's more we can do on demand-side recesses and grid-enhancing technologies. So I hope that we all continue to think about the broad set of solutions in the toolbox that we can look to continue the trend in the right direction. Thanks.
Commissioner Christie.
Yeah, thank you to staff and for the work, and particularly thank you to NERC for your continuing analyses of these issues. I take it as I read the report, the NERC summer assessment. I take it as we hope we can get through the summer. We have a good chance. We have increased hydro in the West because of the drought conditions have diminished. But the long-term trends, I don't think is good news. NERC's pointed out that the long-term trends are we're losing dispatchable generation at a pace that's unsustainable, and it's going to have negative consequences in the future. And even the summer, you mentioned NSPP, if wind doesn't show up, there's insufficient dispatchable generation. So we hope it does. We hope we get all good news this summer. I hope so, and maybe we'll get through the summer. But the long-term trends are still threatening. That's what I took from the NERC report, this summer's assessment in terms of long-term and in previous NERC reports. But thank you all for all the hard work, and I hope it is good news. I hope we get through the summer, but I think in the long term, we've got some major threats facing reliability of the grid.
That's two hopes from you, Commissioner Christie. I appreciate it. Look, I want to close by saying, as Commissioner Clements mentioned last week was Public Service Recognition Week. We had a terrific celebration here at the Commission. I just want to once again say publicly what I said privately to everybody here. I appreciate the staff. You are what make this place a great place to work, and it is an honor to lead this commission. I thank you so much, and that concludes our meeting for today. We are adjourned. That's what I'm supposed to say. Thank you.